Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is July 25th, 2025, and Joan Laporta has given an extensive interview, where he has admitted that he lied about the dates in regards to the return to the Spotify Camp Nou. Also, Barcelona considering stripping the captaincy away from Ter Stegen. And finally, Barcelona are set to miss out on 10 million euros. We have a lot to discuss. So let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mo, and this is the Barca News Live podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where not only do we discuss Barcelona news, but we also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments out loud, answering the questions, and getting that discussion going live. And that is why podcast days are my favorite days. For those of you who will be watching when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description and chapters in the timeline in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight into the news. Having said all that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. If you're looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure to Goal Kids, Kid Bag, or Fanatics. If you're looking to place any sports bets, make sure to bet us. All links are down below in the description. You click on them, you get access to some pretty cool deals and offers. And of course, don't forget, tomorrow, Saturday, is the weekly MoCast, which is the podcast exclusive for channel members only. I know there's a lot of new channel members now that Shin was very generous and donated 5 channel memberships. So a lot of channel members will have access for the first time ever to the MoCast, which is tomorrow, Saturday. And as I've announced previously, once a week, where I'm going to start hosting channel members on the MoCast, where you get to be a guest on the podcast, which I'm very, very excited to launch that segment. So if you want to be a guest on the podcast, or if you want to be able to watch the MoCast, make sure to become a member by hitting the join button under the home tab. Anyways, let's begin with the news, and we start this video or this podcast with the very good news that, ladies and gentlemen, the team has officially embarked on their trip to Japan to begin the preseason tour. Now, after training for 11 days at the Ciudad Esportiva, the team has now headed to Japan, where they will play on Sunday the first friendly match of this season against Vissel Kobe, the former team of Andres Iniesta. After that, they're going to fly to South Korea, where they're going to be playing against FC Seoul, Jesse Lingard's team and Rashford's former teammate, and then Daegu FC. And after those 3 matches, Barcelona will return to the city of Barcelona, where, of course, they're going to be playing the final friendly match of the preseason, which will be the Joan Gamper Trophy match against Como. Now, of course, by now you know all the mess that happened with the preseason tour, where it was initially canceled. The trip to Japan was canceled because the promoter did not pay the 5 million euros that they were supposed to pay. Then Rakuten stepped up. They decided to cover the 5 million euros and pay Barcelona. And there was a lot of back and forth. And then, while finally Barcelona received the money, and now the team are on their way to Japan. They probably even landed already, because they did take off today in the morning local time in Spain. So I imagine they're already in Japan. And again, they do have a match on Sunday against Vissel Kobe. Now, of course, the question is, who are the players that have traveled? Because I told you that there were 35 players training with Hansi Flick, but not all 35 were going to travel to the preseason tour. And well, now we officially know the players that Hansi Flick has selected for this tour, and these are the players that have officially flown to Japan. We have Juan Garcia, our newest goalkeeping signing, Wojciech Szczesny, who recently renewed with Barcelona, Iñaki Peña, who of course Barcelona do not count on, and he is on his way out, but he still has yet to finalize his exit. He has flown to Japan. And of course, Diego Cochen. He is the bet of Barcelona, the future bet of Barcelona, the goalkeeper that Barcelona think will become the future first-team goalkeeper. So Juan Garcia, Szczesny, Iñaki Peña, and Cochen as goalkeepers. Of course, Ter Stegen staying behind due to his upcoming back surgery. Then, when we look at our defenders, Pau Cubarsí, Alejandro Balde, Ronald Araujo, Iñigo Martinez, Andreas Christensen, Jules Koundé, Eric Garcia, Hector Fort, Gerard Martin. Of course, no surprises here. These are all first-team center backs. And then Jofre Torres. Jofre Torres, he's the left back that I told you that Hansi Flick really, really likes. He's been watching for quite some time at the academy. And I had told you several days ago that Flick had chosen Jofre Torres to go to the preseason, and well, now officially confirmed by this post that Barcelona have made. Now, let's look at the midfielders. Gabi, Pedri, Fermin, Marc Asado, Dani Olmo, Frank de Jong, Marc Bernal. Again, no surprises here. And then the two names that I told you before, which of course, Guillermo, that's Guille Fernandez, and Dro, Pedro Hernandez Sarmiento, which is, again, I talked about him in a previous video. Dro is the midfielder that all his coaches are comparing him to Andres Iniesta. He seems to be a very, very talented midfielder. This is the first time he flies with the team to a preseason. Of course, Guille Fernandez flew last summer to the U.S., so I'm very, very excited to see Dro. And then, as far as our attackers, we have Ferran Torres, Robert Lewandowski, Lamine Yamal, Rafinha, Marcus Rashford, our newest signing, and of course, Rooney Bargi, our other signing, and then finally, Tony Fernandez. It's A. Fernandez because, of course, his name is Antonio Fernandez, Tony for short. So, as I told you before, that two Fernandez cousins, Guille and Tony, Dro, Jofre Torrens, and Cochen, all making the list, officially confirmed. As again, this list has been shared by the club through their social media accounts. Now, as you can see from this list, there are, of course, two exclusions from the first team. First, we do have Oriol Romeo, who has stayed behind in Barcelona. And there's already reports saying, oh, Barcelona are mistreating Romeo. Not at all. The club and the player reach an agreement for him to stay behind. Barcelona are not trying to isolate him or punish him or anything like that. Romeo knows that the club don't count on him. Romeo is okay leaving. He knows that. And as I told you before, they're currently considering a contract rescission because so far the offers that Romeo has received are contingent based on him being a free agent. So push comes to shove, Barcelona are totally okay rescinding his contract. The player is okay rescinding his contract, and he's agreed to stay in Barcelona because, of course, that's going to be a lot easier for him to figure out where his next destination is versus, flying to Japan or being in Korea. Then he gets a call, hey, we signed you. Oh, wait, hold on, let me fly back. So that's an agreement between the club and Oriol Romeo for him to stay behind. And then, of course, the other exclusion is Pau Victor, who Barcelona have officially confirmed what I told you yesterday, which is that the player has joined Sporting Braga out of Portugal. The agreement was already full between Barcelona or complete, I should say, between Barcelona and Sporting Braga. Sporting Braga will pay 12 million euros fixed plus 3 million euros in variables for the transfer of Pau Victor. Yesterday, Pau Victor reached personal agreement with the Sporting Braga, and now it's all done, complete, official. Pau Victor has left Barcelona and will be joining Sporting Braga. This has been made official by the club, and that's, of course, why he was also excluded out of the squad list. Now, I do have to say, man, I'm very, 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 very excited for this preseason tour. I cannot wait to see our new signings. I can't wait to see Joan Garcia on goal. I cannot wait to see Rooney Bargi. I cannot wait to see Marcus Rashford. And, of course, I want to see the academy players, Jofre Torrens, Dro, Fernandez cousins. We saw them last summer, but now it's a whole nother year after. I'm excited to see that, how they're doing with the first team. And, of course, Diego Cochen. We'll see if he gets minutes. I'm sure he will. After all, it is preseason. That's the whole point of the preseason. So I cannot wait to see our newest signings. Cannot wait to see our academy players. And for those of you who are wondering how to watch the preseason matches, if you are a soci, so a club member, or if you're a peñista, you can watch for free through the Culé Premium upgrade. That you have free access to that through the Barca One app. If you're not a peñista or a soci, you have to pay. Now, in the US, DAZN are offering free coverage of the 3 preseason matches. So if you're in the US, North America, I think Canada too, you can watch free through DAZN, or if you're a peñista and soci, you can watch free through the Barca One app. Other parts of the world, I'm sorry, but I don't know. You might want to Google it. Maybe there's a channel offering it for free or some kind of streaming service that can offer it for free. But if you're in North America, DAZN offering it for free. And if you're anywhere in the world who's a soci or a peñista, you can watch for free through the Barca One app. And I have to say, I cannot wait. The hours are going to be crappy. I'm going to have to wake up super early to watch it or stay up really late. But I cannot wait. Anyways, so let's start with the comment section. And then we are going to talk about Joan Laporta because he has admitted that he lied. Because this guy, man, lying just comes natural to him. David Blandon says, Mo, do you think the board would be able to get away with these lies and mismanagement if we had a different ownership model like Bayern? I mean, you're less... I mean, depends on who you want to the board to be beholden to. Because if you want the board to be beholden to the club members, this is the best model to have them be beholden to them, right? If you want the socios to be able to, express their frustration or, I guess, penalize the board for lies and mismanagement, this is the best way to do it, right? Because here the socios have the final say when it comes to voting, right? When it comes to who's the president, who's not. Now, if you want the board to be beholden to someone else, they're not the socios, shareholders, someone, then we're talking about a fully private model, right? Where it's owned by a business or it's a publicly traded company, or it just depends on who you want the board to be beholden to. Right. So there's different answers to that question depending on who do you think should be the ones deciding on whether the president is doing a good job or not. Barca React says, big up Mo, what do you think about the 1-to-1 situation? If we are in the Camp Nou, I doubt we make it. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how not returning to the Camp Nou will affect the auditor's report, right? Because Barcelona are counting on those 100 million euros from the VIP seats that they sold, 475 seats, rights to those seats that they sold for 100 million. The auditor said you cannot count those 100 million because those seats are not built yet. The seats are now built. So Barcelona are counting on the auditor to issue a new report saying, yes, you can count those 100 million, which would help Barcelona achieve the 1-to-1. But if we don't return to the Camp Nou, it's going to be interesting to see how the auditor handles that. Because if the auditor then says, okay, yeah, the seats are built, but you're not back at the stadium, so you cannot make revenue off the seats, you cannot exploit those seats for a profit, then you still can't count them. That's going to be a big problem because we need those 100 million to achieve the 1-to-1. There's no way around it. We need those 100 million. Harry Naidu says, can Barca register Rashford and Joan Garcia with the La Liga new rules allowing club to register one new player and two free agent? Well, Joan Garcia and Rashford were not new agents, free agents, right? So there's also, I guess Rooney Bargi doesn't really enter the equation because he's a Barca Athletic player. But it is possible. But right now, the rumors is that Barcelona are having hard time registering either. And it's not looking good. Hopefully, we can find a solution. We still have some time until the season begins. We have a month or a little less than a month. Hopefully, we can find a solution and we can avoid a whole Dani Olmo, Pau Victor situation like last season. Noob Master says, what's up, Mo? About the Asia Tour, who do you think is going to explode in the preseason? I mean, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, right? I really, really, really want to see Dro and Torrens. I'm very excited for those two. But we'll have to wait and see. Now, of course, as much as I'm excited to see these players play in the preseason, and as much as I'm excited for the preseason, at the end of the day, it's still a preseason. So this, yes, you could see some flashes there, here and there, and it could be an indication. But at the end of the day, it's not the final say, right? Look at Pau Victor, for example. He was the top goal scorer of the preseason last summer. I mean, he just completely shocked all of us, and then he didn't play anything, right? So even though I am excited for the preseason to see these players, at the end of the day, you still got to keep in mind that it's still a preseason. It doesn't mean much. Doesn't mean that, let's say you killed it in a preseason, that means you're going to be killing it throughout the season. Doesn't even mean that you're going to play the season with the first team. But nonetheless, I'm very excited to see Barcelona back in action, and I'm very excited to see a lot of these players. And Justice Boyo says, oh, wait. hold on. Oh, we have a donation. All right, let me finish Justice Boyo's comment and then I'll do the donation. But it says, hello, Mo, Justice Boyo from the Gambia. Is there any plans for Barcelona to sign a fullback this season as Dumfries is in the market and can help in the defense? Barcelona have already ruled out Dumfries. No Dumfries signing. There could be technically, there is a consideration that maybe Barcelona could consider signing a fullback, but at this point, it's not looking like it because we don't even know if we're going to be able to register Rashford and Eddie Garcia. Sorry, Joan Garcia. So the last thing we want is to go sign another player if we can't even register the ones that we already have. So for now, it's not looking like it, right? Because for Barcelona, as I told you in the last video, could consider signing a fullback, but before considering that, they first want to be able to register the players that they just signed, Rashford and Joan Garcia. They want to register the contract renewals, including Wojciech Szczesny. And then, if everybody's registered, all the exits are done, everything's good to go, Barcelona have done everything that they wanted to do, and then they still have enough margin to be able to sign and register someone else, then they're going to try to go for a fullback. But that's a big, big, big if. So most likely no. But either way, yes or no, Dumfries is ruled out. Barcelona are not going to try to sign Dumfries. Oh, and we do have Aaron Parker, who has gifted one Barca News membership. Thank you, my friends, for your generosity. So I guess we'll have another member for tomorrow's MoCast. Again, Saturdays every week, the MoCast exclusive only for members. And with that, let's get back to the news because, ladies and gentlemen, Joan Laporta has given an extensive interview with Mundo Deportivo discussing all kinds of myriad of topics. Yesterday, I covered the portion of the interview where Joan Laporta discussed the Nico Williams signing and what happened. Well, the failed signing and what happened. If you haven't seen that video yet, make sure to check it out. It's on the channel. I discussed everything that Laporta said about the whole Nico Williams situation. And today we're going to be covering a different segment from the interview, which is in regards to the Camp Nou. Because Joan Laporta, I don't know if he directly or indirectly or if he knew that he was doing it or not, he pretty much admitted that he lied to us this entire time about all the different dates that he gave us in regards to the return to the Camp Nou. Now, the first thing that Joan Laporta was asked about was, of course, the Joan Gamper Trophy return, because as you know, Barcelona made an official announcement on the social media accounts, on their website. They even had a marketing campaign going on that Barcelona would return to the Camp Nou on August 10th, 2025 for the Joan Gamper Trophy. 2 weeks later, of course, they announced that, no, that's not going to happen because Barcelona were not going to receive the permit, the occupancy permit from the city on time because, of course, the stadium was simply not ready. So the first thing that Laporta was asked about was like, hey, what happened with the Joan Gamper? I thought we were going to be back. Why aren't we back? And this is what Laporta had to say. We had the information that the relevant license would arrive in due time. Well, that's a lie, but we'll talk about it. In fact, we received the construction and activity licenses, but not the first occupancy license. Well, that's what you needed to return and you didn't get. But anyways, we'll talk about it. In my address to the club's Senate, I said that if nothing unforeseen occurred, we would return for the Gamper. When the return was announced, I do not know if I said anything. They made me put my hand on the speaker. So he had nothing to do with the announcement. They just made him put his hand on the speaker. He didn't know what was going on. So let's break this down because, disclaimer, I voted for this guy. Okay, I'm a club soci, and I voted in the elections, and I voted for Laporta. I was very, very big on Laporta. In fact, I spent the first 2 years of this channel defending Laporta left and right. But now, the more this guy talks, the more Laporta opens his mouth, the more he makes me question my decision making. Because I'm like, my God, I can't believe I voted for this guy. But let's break this down. Because he says that he had information that the licenses would arrive in time. That is an absolute lie. Because days before the announcement was made, I read to you a statement by a member of the of the City of Barcelona Council that said that they were not sure that the stadium was going to be ready, that they were very, very pessimistic, that they had gone to the stadium, they had seen the state of the stadium and the construction, and they did not understand why Barcelona was announcing that they were going to be returning by August 10th. This came directly from the city council. The city council themselves say, why is Barcelona announcing this? Like, the stadium is not ready. But then Laporta comes out and says, no. They told us that. No, nobody told you. You're fucking lying, bro. Because the city council themselves told you, why are you announcing this? This is not going to be ready. Plus, as I've said a million times before, how about just making the announcement once you have the license in hand? This whole like, oh, well, we thought we were going to get the license. No, just get the license and then make the announcement. But again, he's fucking lying. And then he talks about how the official announcement, because the official announcement by Barcelona, he was with the speakers and Laporta was on the speaker. He's like, oh, I didn't know anything about that. They just made, are you fucking kidding me? You are the president of FC Barcelona. You are the president. The buck stops with you. And your excuse is, oh, I don't know what was happening. They just made me put my hand on a speaker. So the club makes an official announcement. You have no idea what the announcement is about. You have no idea whether the announcement is true or not. They just tell you, put your hands on a speaker, you do it, and cool, right? Because that's what a president does. Again, this is the same thing as yesterday with the whole Nico Williams situation where he was like, oh, well, I wanted Rashford from day one, but it's Nico Williams who offered himself. And then Deco's the one who convinced me to consider Nico because I wanted Rash. It's like, can you just take responsibility for your fuck-ups for once in your life? But anyways, it gets worse. Because then Laporta was asked about, what about all these other dates? Forget the Joan Gamper. You know, they told us November of last year, then December, then February, then April, then May. None of those dates were fulfilled. So what's going on with that? And this is what Laporta had to say, pretty much admitting that he lied. If you do not set dates, you do not create urgency. Exactly, and they are doing their part, but nobody can afford to be relaxed. I push my team at the club, I push the contractor, and I keep in close communication with the council so everything moves as quickly as possible. So in other words, all those dates that we were given, November, December, February, April, and May, they were not real dates. What they were was just Laporta putting pressure on the construction company. How about you do that pressure privately? Hey, you should have the stadium done by this date. Instead of fooling fans, millions of fans from all around the world, fooling the Sochis, fooling everybody because you're just putting pressure on them. What kind of technique is that? But you're telling me that Limac was just chilling, not doing anything, and then because you say we're going to be returned by the date, all of a sudden the construction company will be like, oh, okay. Well, we weren't going to finish it by that date, but since you announced it, now it's going to be done by that date. That's not how construction works. Construction takes as long as it takes. It doesn't all of a sudden get accelerated because you put some fake date out. And again, why the lie to the fans? But it gets worse because here's where the controversy emerges, the contradiction. Because he's telling us he lied to us about the dates to put pressure on the construction company, but then in his next breath says the following about Limac. Because remember, he told us supposedly there's a clause in the contract that for every day Limac is late, they pay us 1 million euros. So the interviewer said, hey, why aren't you charging Limac the penalties? I mean, it's been like more than 200 days of delays. We could have easily made 200 million euros. And this is what Laporta had to say. I mean, this guy lies so much, he doesn't even realize how his lies contradict each other. But this is what the president said. I hope now, while penalties have accumulated due to delays in some phases, they are not entirely Limac's fault. Over 300 issues were expected in the first and second tiers, but nearly 2,000 appeared. That delays things. Then there are licenses and inspections, rain, many variables. We accept them and try to resolve them. We are understanding. We want the project finished, not penalties. Limac is highly motivated. We are like a family. We meet every 2 weeks with their leadership and technical staff to assess progress. The oversight is thorough. We are satisfied. If goals are met, any penalties will be negotiable. So, just a few moments ago, he tells us, I lied about all those dates because I need to put pressure on the construction company. But then in the next breath, he tells us, oh, the construction company is amazing. They're super motivated. So which one is it? Did you lie to us to motivate them, or they're already motivated and they don't need to be motivated, so you lied to us for nothing? it's like I said, this guy lies so much through his breath that he doesn't even realize what he's lying about anymore. He's just like, he just wants to give an answer. And he wants to give an answer that's, somewhat acceptable and just move on. Whether it's the truth, whether it's a lie, whether it contradicts another lie, it doesn't matter. He just wants to tell the people what they want to hear and move on with his day. Like there's absolutely no repercussions to what he says. Like he's not the president of one of the biggest clubs in the world. But then Joan Laporta revealed the following. Now, he said that he's completely ruling out a return to the Olympic Stadium. He's like, no, we're going to be back at the Camp Nou. We have to be back at the Camp Nou. And this is why. Because returning to the Camp Nou not only would have serious financial repercussions for Barcelona, because obviously playing at Olympic Stadium, you're making way less money because it's smaller capacity. People don't want to go to that stadium. Plus, you have to pay rent for it. So you're losing money. But not only are you losing money by returning to the Olympic Stadium, it also affects the financing of the Camp Nou. And this is what Laporta had to say about that. All our budgets and financial commitments, including the agreement with Goldman Sachs, are based on returning this season. If we do not, everything would need to be redone. We are used to difficult situations, but our assumption is we return as soon as possible to meet all the financial projections. So not returning to the Camp Nou this season could have huge repercussions for Barcelona, not just financially because they would make less money from people attending the matches, but also because it would affect the entire financing of the Camp Nou. 1.5 billion euros, billion with a B, 1.5 billion euros that Barcelona has borrowed to renovate the Camp Nou and the Espai Barca project would all have to be redone, renegotiated, restructured, completely done, because all those agreements hinge on Barcelona returning to the Camp Nou this season. And that is huge. But Laporta wants to tell you, oh, it's okay. We're like a family with Limac. We're not going to charge them penalties because, we want to be nice. As I've said, there are two possible things here. Either A, those penalties do exist, and if they do, how stupid are you not to enforce them? After all, you negotiated them. They agreed to them. They signed a contract with them. So why not enforce what you agreed to? Especially if it means if you get 200-300 million euros out of this, that would mean getting Barcelona out of the financial hole that they've been trying to dig themselves out for the last 4 or 5 years. Why wouldn't you take that? It's like God is throwing you a raft to save yourself, and you're like, no, thanks. I'm family with the water, so I'm just going to drown. Also, if this ends up affecting the financing deal with Goldman Sachs and all these other vultures that have loaned us the money, again, why wouldn't you charge Limac? Because now their delays are harming you financially from the revenue that you could be making in the stadium, but now also going to harm you financially as far as the financing deal. So you tell me you're that stupid that you're not going to enforce penalties that Limac agreed to, where it could be your financial salvation and it can undo the harm that the delays are causing? Or the second scenario is that these penalties don't even exist, and he just, again, lied to us about it because he wants to, as always, appear like the big man, the big, best president ever. So which one is it? Are you a liar or are you stupid? Or are you both? Anyways, finally, Laporta did reveal that he has asked UEFA to have the first Champions League match played away to give Barcelona more time to prepare the stadium. And this is what Laporta said. We have requested to play our first Champions League match away from home. The draw is on 28th of August. I hope UEFA allows it. Our relationship with them is improving. I respect Alexander Seferin's work, and I think we can trust them. So, of course, Barcelona have already done this with La Liga. They requested from Tebas that the first 3 matches be played away. Tebas agreed. So the first 3 fixtures of the upcoming season are away matches. The 4th one against Valencia, that will be the first home match, which is when Barcelona aim to return to the Camp Nou. I really hope it happens because, as you can see, there are serious repercussions not returning there. Hopefully we can. But at this point, I don't believe anything that comes out of Laporta or this board's mouth. So I guess I will see it. I will believe it when I see it. Once I see the teams actually playing on the field of the Camp Nou, I'll believe that we are back at the Camp Nou. All right, let's go back to the chat section, and then we are going to talk about Ter Stegen because the club are considering rescinding or stripping, his captaincy. Shin, my man, says, I'd love to have Rakuten back as a sponsor. I've always thought it looked better on the kit than Spotify. Just my opinion. I like Spotify. I like Spotify because we've had, I don't think there's any other club doing these cool collaborations, to have the sports world and the music world collide the way Barcelona have done with Spotify. I think it's really, really cool to have, the special edition kits with artists on them for the what's called El Clásico match. I think that's really cool, having those artists, doing marketing and going to the match. I mean, that's really cool. Again, this whole relationship between the sport and the music world. I don't think there's any other club doing anything similar to that. So I really, really like the Spotify deal. Plus, it's a lot more lucrative than the Rakuten deal. Diamond says, hi, Mo. I'm so happy to join the live chat. Hope Barcelona will win the biggest cup this 2025-2026 season. Amen, my friend. Amen. And Real Football 11 says, Pau has been officially announced by Braga, wishing him all the best in his new team. Yes, he is. Moses Tembo says, how will Ter Stegen issue be with Garcia's registration? Because he's simply making it difficult for the new keeper. He's not. We'll talk about it in a little bit. Roger says, hey, Mo, quick question. Seeing that Barca have money in the bank and we are mostly covered in all areas, why can't Barca use the money in the bank to register the players they brought in? I mean, where are you getting from that Barcelona have money in the bank? Also, being able to register players is completely different from being able to sign players, okay? You sign players with the money you have, but you register players with how much you're allowed to spend. That's different, right? That's completely different. Let's use this as an example. Your mom gives you an allowance of $100, okay? You have $100 to spend. That's how much you can spend on anything you want, right? That would be so you decide, I want to spend $100 on candy. You can. You have the money in hand, right? That's the equivalent of Barcelona having money to sign players. But the equivalent to register them, it's your mom saying, okay, you have $100, but you can only use 20 to buy candy. So you have the 100, you can buy $100 worth of candy, but you're not being allowed to by your mom. Your mom's telling you can only spend 20. The other 80, you have to spend it on shoes, books, homework material like pencils and notebooks. So that's the difference, right? You can have all the money in the world that you could spend on signings, but financial fair play is what's allotted for you to spend on signings. So let's say you go out with $100 and you buy the $100 worth of candy. Now your mom says, look, I told you can only spend 20, so you're only going to be able to eat $20 worth of candy. That's the same, right? Yeah, sure, you can go and sign 100 players, but you're only going to be able to register the amount that you're allowed to be registered. That's the difference. Let's see. Sanjak says, Laporta needs to be investigated for his deals with Limac. I'm starting to believe there's some bribery involved. The club is living on trust and hope. I mean, this was already brought up. I don't think there's an official investigation, but this was already brought up by the Sochis when the deal was first announced. That there was a lot of suspicion behind the deal between Laporta and Limac because they're saying there were other companies that were much more experienced, who had a much bigger profile, whose specialty was, who had the equipment, the manpower, the knowledge to build stadiums. And they had a lot more experience doing that than Limac. That Limac was considered a company with no experience in handling a project such as this. And there were a lot of other companies way better equipped with much more experience to handle a project like this. And somehow, some way, the contract ended up going to Limac. Now, of course, Laporta came out and said, no, there was nothing fishy here. We considered all the companies equally. And Limac ended up being the one who offered the best proposal. But there has been already talks about this, about that there might be some fishy dealings behind Laporta picking Limac, because there was a lot more better experienced, better equipped companies that could have handled this project. Now, I don't want to speculate, because unless there's an actual investigation and that's what it leads to. But I mean, there's a chance, yes, because starting to look like Limac has bit a little bit more than they could chew. Because yesterday I told in the video how they're taking responsibility, because they're saying the first wave of laborers that they hired, they didn't have the experience for a project this big. And it's like, all right, if you're a company that knows how to build stadiums, you would expect that company to know how to hire people that know how to build stadiums, and not hire thousands of people and then be like, oh crap, we hired the wrong people. These people don't know what they're doing. That means that you don't know what you're doing. That reflects badly on you. And then, the second reason was like, laborers were sleeping at night when they were supposed to build this. Like, maybe that's not as bad, but still, you should be able to control your laborers. Like, you should have mechanisms of inspection. Like, hey, are you guys working? You're not working? Okay, then we need to fire you. Like, it's just not looking good. And I'm not talking about the delays, by the way. I'm talking about the excuses for the delays, because delays are a natural process of any major construction project. It's inevitable. There's probably not a single big building project in history of humankind that was not delayed. That's just, they go hand in hand. It's like taxes and death, right? Two things that are for sure in life. Same thing with delays. But to tell me that delays are caused because you hired the wrong people, that just doesn't look good. But anyways, thank you for your donation, my friend. Let's do a couple more comments and then we'll talk about let's see, and we'll talk about Mark Ter Stegen. Let me put my glasses back on because I'm an old man. Choo choo! My man says the zone. By the way, I just learned that it's the zone. I always thought it was the Zen. But that's because I never watched that channel until the Club World Cup. They were streaming it for free in the US. And for the first time, I watched them. And then, obviously, when they would announce, say, the Club World Cup on the Zone. And I was like, oh, it's the Zone. I had no idea. But anyways, the Zone isn't showing the game on Sunday, I think, due to the back and forth. But the next two games are still showing on the Zone app. Oh, interesting. Last time I checked them, it was on their schedule. Well, not on the app, on their website. They had listed all the preseason matches that they're airing, not just Barca's. They're also airing, I think, Chelsea and, I don't know, Liverpool, other clubs' matches too. And I saw it on their schedule, but I haven't checked the app. I mean, I am associate and a Peñista, so I guess I get to watch it for free on the Barca app, but we'll see. It's also going to be at really horrible hours. Let me see. What time is the Vissel Kobe match? If my keyboard decides to connect, because it's a stupid Bluetooth keyboard. Come on, connect. Let me see. Vissel Kobe versus Barcelona. Time. It's going to be 6 a.m. Okay, that's not too bad. I mean, it is bad. I'm not a morning person, but I guess I could set an alarm. Or if I'm getting back home, I could just stay up late. I don't know. 6 a.m. Wait, but is that 6 a.m. on Sunday? Yeah, because that would mean it would be 7 p.m. Japan time. Anyways, we do have another donation, an incredibly generous donation from Shin, as always, who says, I only speak of me on this for over 30 years now. My loyalty has been, currently is, and always will be in this club. It's a badge and what we stand for, not ever to its president. I'm a culé through and through, and always will be Bizca Barca for life. Amen, my friend. Bizca Barca is something I've talked about a lot on this channel, which is I don't understand people who are loyal to the president or to members of the board or even to the coaches or players, right? I used to say that a lot about Xavi Hernandez last season. Why are people so obsessed with just defending Xavi? Or now with people defending Laporta? It's your loyalty should not be with what the people that come and go at the club. Your loyalty should be with the club itself. FC Barcelona as an institution. That's where your loyalty should lie. The people who come to the club and go, the presidents, the boards, the coaches, the players, those people should only be praised if they do a good job. And if they don't do a good job, then they need to get the fuck out. Why is... I don't understand this obsession with Laporta, he's the best. What do you gain from being loyal to Laporta? Is he your dad or something? I don't get it. Or what do you get from being loyal to Xavi Hernandez as the coach. I mean, all we got from it is Barcelona being embarrassed everywhere. And you're telling me that you care more about your loyalty to Xavi as a coach than your own club being humiliated left and right all through the stadiums of Europe? Because I care more about my club being humiliated versus my loyalty to some guy who's not even at the club anymore. And that goes for anyone because nobody lasts that long. People come and go. So I'll never understand why people, give their loyalty to some random person at the club and that's it. And it's like do or die. And it's like whatever they do, I'm going to defend it. If they do a great job, I'm going to defend it. If they do a horrible job, I'm still going to defend it because it's Laporta, or Xavi. It's like you're not doing yourself or your club any service. Like all you're helping by being fully loyal to someone at the club and defending their actions no matter what, all you're doing is harming the club. Because imagine if I was fully loyal to Bartomeu and no matter what he did, I'm going to defend him. How is that helping Barcelona? It's not. Right? Bartomeu hurt Barcelona. And if I were to defend his actions, that means I'm defending the harming of Barcelona. So I'll never understand this when people just go all out. Like literally the other day, I showed him a video of the state of the stadium. A video. Like that's as clear as it gets when it comes to evidence of the stadium not being ready. And people were doing mental gymnastics in the comment section. That's an old video. Oh no, there's actually bloggers that report on these videos on the stadium. So how is this leaked or blah, blah, blah. Does it fucking matter? The point is the stadium is not ready and Laporta lied to us. Why do you care about anything else? Like, why are you doing all these mental gymnastics to defend them? He pissed in your face. And instead of saying, hey, stop pissing in my face, you're like, more please, and opening your mouth so he can piss in your mouth. I don't get that. I'll never understand it. But anyways, let's get back to the comment section. Thank you, my friend. Oh, sorry, not the comment section, the news. But thank you, my friend, for your donation. And let's talk about Mark Ter Stegen, because it's reported that Barcelona are now considering stripping the captaincy away from the German goalkeeper. Now, as we know, tensions are rising between Barcelona and Ter Stegen. Ter Stegen is, of course, upset at the fact that Barcelona never communicated to him. They were going to try to push him out until they signed Joan Garcia, then leaked it to the media that he was getting pushed out. And then when he came back, they were like, oh, by the way, pushing out. So he's not happy about that. Barcelona are not happy about the fact that, he's decided not to leave. They're also not happy about his announcement yesterday where he tweeted that he was going to undergo back surgery and that he was going to be out for 3 months. They didn't like that because they think, the announcement should have came from them, which I do agree. The announcement should have been made by the club, not Ter Stegen. And of course, the tension are now pretty high between the two, where nobody is talking to the other, right? Ter Stegen is not communicating with Barcelona. Barcelona are not communicating with him. And that, of course, poses a problem for someone who's a captain, because the whole point of the captain is not just to be a leader on the field during matches, but a captain acts as a liaison between the locker room and leadership, right? If the players have a concern, if the players want to communicate something, instead of, the leadership meeting with every player one by one, all the players communicate that to their captain, in this case, Ter Stegen, and then Ter Stegen takes that to the leadership, says, hey, this is what the concerns are, this is what the players are looking for, this is what they're complaining about, et cetera, et cetera. But if Ter Stegen is not talking to the club, and the club is not talking to Ter Stegen, that, of course, is a big, big problem, because if you're the liaison, how are you going to communicate what your players are expressing to you if you're not communicating with the club, period? So now Barcelona are considering stripping the captaincy away from Ter Stegen, which, of course, begs the question, who could replace him, right? There are some options. Of course, Frankie, Araujo, and Rafinha are still the other three captains. So someone would have to take this spot, the fourth one. Obviously, they go up, and then the new one would take the number 4 spot. Now, there are some options. I would be in favor of Iñigo Martinez. I think Iñigo Martinez has shown true leadership on the field. I know Iñigo Martinez, I've heard the countless reports and interviews by his teammates, how he's a leader also during off the field as well, in the locker room, in the training session, how he helps the youngsters. I think Iñigo Martinez will be a great, great captain. I know some people are talking about, Lamine Yamal or Pedri. I wouldn't be so much in favor of those two, because I think a lot of times people confuse being a captain with being good, right? And just because you're the best player doesn't mean necessarily that you have to be a captain. I think to be a captain, you have to have leadership skills. Sometimes the best player doesn't necessarily have leadership skills. Like Lamine Yamal, undoubtedly for me right now, the best player in the world. That doesn't mean he's ready to lead a team. And when I say lead a team, I don't mean by his play, but actually, motivate them, looking out for them, being their spokesperson, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All that is a completely separate skill than what it takes to be a good player, right? So I think for me is Inigo Martinez, but of course, I'm curious to hear you guys' thoughts. Who do you think should be the captain in place of Ter Stegen in case the club does decide to go through with their decision to strip the captaincy away from the German goalkeeper? Now, by the way, in regards to his post yesterday, people went nuts on social media. They're like, oh, Ter Stegen is just trying to sabotage Barcelona because Barcelona were hoping to register Joan Garcia in using Ter Stegen's slot, because as you know, when a player undergoes surgery and they're out for a long time, you can use 80% of their salary to register someone else, kind of like what Barcelona did with Olmo and Pau Victor when Christensen got injured and underwent surgery. People were like, oh, he's just sabotaging because he's saying he's going to be out for 3 months when in reality it's 4 to 5 months. So by doing that, Barcelona are not going to be able to register Joan Garcia. Someone said that on Twitter. Everybody ran with it because, of course, most people on Twitter are too stupid to think for their own and actually analyze, like, is this actually possible? Well, I'm here to tell you it's not possible. Okay. First, yesterday I talked about how even if it is true, it shouldn't be Ter Stegen's responsibility to get Joan Garcia's registered. That's the club's responsibility. But besides that, the La Liga Medical Committee, the spokesperson for La Liga Medical Committee, has come out and said it doesn't matter what Ter Stegen says. It's what the medical reports say. Ter Stegen could say, hey, I'm undergoing surgery today and tomorrow I'm gonna be fit. La Liga's not gonna be like, okay, well, Twitter says it, so that's it. What means no? It's gonna be whatever the medical doctors present. The medical doctors are gonna present a full file to La Liga's medical committee saying, look, this is what his injuries are. Here's the proof of that, X-rays, MRIs, whatever. Here's the surgery he got. Here's the surgery report. This is how long the recovery is. This is how long it will take to heal. This is how long it will take for physical therapy. This is how long it will take for gym workout. This is how long it will take to start working out on the grass. And in total, it's going to be 4 to 5 months. So it's what the medical reports say that La Liga will consider as far as how long Ter Stegen will be out, and therefore decide how long Joan Garcia could be registered in his place. It's not what Ter Stegen says on Twitter. This is the same thing when Laporta announced that we were not going to the Camp Nou for the Joan Gamper Trophy. People on Twitter were like, oh, this is a strategy to fool the auditor to approve the VIP seats. And I'm like, I said in here, I'm like, are you fucking stupid? Do you think the auditor is stupid? They're just going to be like, oh, well, Twitter says that the stadium is ready, so we're going to consider the stadium done. Again, I have very, very, very little faith for humanity because the shit I see on social media, I'm like, my God. We used to live in the age of reason. Now we live in the age of stupidity where nobody wants to think. People just say something and everybody else just parrots it, repeat it. Don't even think about the implication. Don't even think, is this possible? No, I'm just going to repeat whatever someone else said, not even having to think or critically think. And with AI, by the way, it's only getting worse because now people really don't have to think. You just got to type a question and AI spits out the answer, and critical thinking is out the window. And this is the biggest proof. I mean, just go on. So just spend 5 minutes on Twitter, just scrolling. We are in trouble, ladies and gentlemen. The human race is in trouble. All right, let's see. Nathan Fort says Barca should go for a new president, but who? I mean, there's election next year, 2026. We'll see who the candidates are. Each candidate will present their platform, and then we'll decide who has, each person will decide who has the best platform, just how elections work. Winter Dennis says, hey, Mo, what's up? Trinidad in the house. Great work as usual. Man, Laporta's a joke. They should get rid of him immediately. I'm not in favor of getting presidents out halfway through their terms. I truly believe in presidents being able to finish their terms because when you kick them out halfway through, I think it's only does more harm than good. Unless, of course, there's something egregious going on, like they're stealing from the club or kind of like with Bartomeu, he was mismanaging the club so badly and he had done it for so long that the club was on the verge of bankruptcy and he needed to be kicked out. Obviously, he ended up resigning before he was able to get kicked out. But overall, I usually prefer for the elections, right? Like, let them finish their term. And unless they're doing something egregious, let then the election be the time to get them out. That way there's a normal transition of power, right? Term is over. He gets voted out, someone else gets voted in, and then there's the transition versus halfway through the election. Now you have to appoint a temporary board. Now you have to give time for people to present themselves for candidacy and run their campaigns and then come up with a new date for the election. And this takes months and months. And in the meantime, you have like a temporary board, and then this temporary board, then they have to cede power to the new elected board. And it just gets too messy. So I'm more in favor of going through elections versus kicking someone out halfway through their term. Let's see. Willie says, we have to take into consideration that Laporta is saving us from mess we went through. As a leader, he needs to cover for certain thing only because of the mess. Okay. This whole thing of, he did some good things, so we should ignore the bad things, is an incredibly dumb way to look at things. And I'll explain to you why. It's a dumb thing to look at things. Let's imagine I'm out walking. I live close to the Hudson River. And I see a kid drowning. And in an act of heroism, I jump in the Hudson River. I save him, pull him out. I do CPR, I bring him back to life. I'm a hero, right? Now, because I saved that kid's life, I go out to celebrate. Go to a bar, I start drinking, I get drunk as fuck. I get behind the wheel, and as I'm driving home, I run over a kid and kill him. Okay? And now people are like, Mo is a murderer. No. But he saved the kid. So him killing another kid, it doesn't fucking matter. It cancels out, right? I'm still a hero. See how stupid that sounds? Yes, sure, Laporta has done great things. Don't get me wrong. But to ignore the bad things because he did good things, what? Every criminal out there has done good things in their life. We should forgive them all. Open the prisons, let people out, because I'm sure everybody did good things in their life too. So we should forget about the bad things they did because they also did good things, right? Because that's how it works. It's an algebra equation, right? Just cancels out. Meh. Who cares? Bartomeu won us a treble. So fuck it. Who cares he ruined the club and almost bankrupted it? He did good things at the beginning too, right? Bartomeu is a saint. Best president ever. God help us. Orlando says, hey, Mo, today is my country Independence Day, Liberia, and we are excited about the preseason. All right. Happy Independence Day to all my brothers and sisters out in Liberia. And yes, I'm very excited about the preseason. Let's see. That cool kid. I don't know why I thought it said Kool-Aid, but that cool kid says, why you say they won't go to Japan, but they are. I think you are sources. The club announced that they were canceling the Japan trip. That straight up came from the club, from their website, from their social media accounts, from their Twitter. I don't even know how to respond to that. Anyways, let's do the last bit of news. God, I'm losing hope for humanity. But let's talk about Oscar Mingueza, because, ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona are set to lose 10 million euros from the possible move of Oscar Mingueza. Now, as I told you in previous videos, there's been a lot of interest in Oscar Mingueza. He had a really good season with Celta Vigo. He got his first call-up to the Spanish national team. And that, of course, attracted a lot of interest from European teams who were looking to sign him. More specifically, Aston Villa. They were really wanted to sign him. But there was hesitance on the part of Oscar Mingueza. He wasn't too sure if he wanted to stay at Celta and renew because his contract expires next summer, 2026, or if he wanted to find a new destination such as Aston Villa or someone else. There was also a French club that wanted him. I can't remember which one. But anyways, now Barcelona were, of course, in favor of Oscar Mingueza making a move. And that's because he has a release clause worth 20 million euros. And Barcelona still own 50% of the rights of the player. Now, Celta Vigo were insisting, even since last summer and last winter transfer market, when there was other interest in Oscar Mingueza, they insisted that any club that wanted Oscar Mingueza, they had to pay the release clause. They had to pay the 20 million which of course that would have been very beneficial for Barcelona because since they own 50% of the rights, they would get 10 million out of those 20 million euro of his release clause. But now they're stating that Oscar Mingueza is more and more in favor of renewing with Celta Vigo and staying at his current club, which of course, if that happens, Barcelona, not only would Barcelona not make any money this summer, they wouldn't make any money off him, period. Because of course, if he renews, that's a new contract, and that new contract will not have those rights. So Barcelona, we're really hoping to make those 10 million this summer. It would have gone a long way helping Barcelona register players like Joan Garcia and Rashford. But it seems that Oscar Mingueza is going to stay at Celta Vigo. And in fact, he already started negotiations to renew his contract. Oscar, please, bro, reconsider, man. There's other clubs, better clubs out there. Go. Who doesn't want to play in the Premier League? But anyways, all right, that is all the news for this podcast. Let's see what the comment section is saying. Let's see. Chuchu says today's show should be termed Barcelona and its financial drama 2.0. Yeah, pretty much. Richard says, Mo, are you in Matt's payroll, bro? How come you can't admit Matt hasn't handled himself well? Also, I mean, I've talked about it in the past. If you missed it, I encourage you to watch those videos. Barca Soldier says, I can silly get off Laporta's lap and think about the club and taking your feeling out of it. How has Mo switched up? You're not loyal to the club. Okay, I just realized that comment is for someone else, so I have no idea. Street Fighter says, ¿cómo es posible que equipos como el Chelsea puedan elegir registrar y de registrar a quien quieran, pero nosotros no? So Street Fighter is wondering how Chelsea can register and deregister and sign 1 million players and we can't. That's because, my friend, we are ran, and when I say we, I mean La Liga, are ran by an incredibly incompetent and dumb person called Javier Tebas that has some of the most ridiculous financial fair play rules in all of Europe, the most strict financial fair play rules. And that's why. It hasn't just affected us, by the way. It's affected all La Liga clubs. It's not just Barcelona that has a hard time registering players. I mean, Real Betis, Valencia, Sevilla, you name it. Almost every club except for maybe Real Madrid have had problems registering their players every transfer market, summer or winter. There have been clubs who've had to offload players in order to register other ones, or offload players that they couldn't register because, again, La Liga has the strictest financial fair play rules in Europe. David Lopez says, especially players that are getting paid high wages, they need to get out if they play bad all the time. Okay, let's see. Flyboy says, Mo, there are cultural differences between the way things operate in Spain and what you are used to in New York. I was born and raised on an apartment in Spain for almost 25. I mean, if you're talking about like how fast things go in Spain, trust me, I'm very aware. I've been to Spain a million times. I'm very aware that things move a lot slower there. That goes for all the European continent, by the way, or maybe the rest of the world, for the exception of a few places like China, Japan. But yeah, things in the U.S. move faster, and that's because we have, fortunately or unfortunately, you can look at it both ways. We have a culture here where people live to work versus maybe Europeans are more like they work to live, right? That's usually the big difference. That's why in the U.S. things move a lot faster because it's just like work. So things get done faster. I'm very aware of that. And again, my problem is not with the delays. I understand. This is a major project. This is not just slapping a fresh coat of paint on a Camp Nou and maybe change a few seats and we're good to go. No. I mean, they've demolished the entire third ring. They've demolished all the structure that was holding up that third ring. And they're refurbished the entire first two rings, the original ones. They've had to build all new structure for the new third ring. That means digging, excavating, building foundation. I mean, and the third ring will hold approximately 40,000 people. And all that is going to be new structure. So that's like building a second smaller stadium that can host 40,000 people. So I understand this is a major project. It's going to take years. There's going to be delays and delays and delays. That's 100% understandable. I'm not here to complain about the delays. As I've always said, we'll go back whenever we go back. It's a major project. and we're building what's going to be one of the best stadiums in the world. So I'll wait for as long as I have to wait. The problem is the line, not the delays. The delays are expected. That's the line. It's like, oh, we're going to be back November. No, December. No, February. No, April. No, May. No, August. Now it's September. Then the president himself comes out and says, oh, well, I lied because I was trying to put pressure on that company. Oh, by the way, the company doesn't need pressure. They're very motivated. It's like, it's all the line and all the back and forth. That's the problem, not the delays. Trust me, I understand this is going to be delays. And trust me, I understand the cultural difference. When I go to Spain, I grow very frustrated because of how slow everything moves. Even like when you go to a restaurant and you're sitting there like, hello, I've been here for an hour. Can someone like take my order, please? Like, trust me, I'm very aware of the cultural differences. Let's see. We have another donation. Well, two donations. First one from Chavez Juan. He didn't say anything. If you were trying to say something and you forgot, please drop it in the comment section. I'll make sure to look for it and read it. And then Chavez Juan again with another generous donation says, maybe I'm clueless, but I was wondering, how do you become a club member? So now actually they have online club membership process. Before you would have to go to the office, to the Soci office at the Camp Nou and go in person, fill your application and do it. Now they've opened that online. I think it's been a couple of years, maybe. I can't remember where, but you can do it online. If you go to the website, FC Barcelona website, and you can go to become a member, or if you just Google become an FC Barcelona Soci or FC Barcelona member, you'll get the link. You go in, you fill out the application, you make your payment, and then you become one. And then you'll receive in the mail your Soci membership. So that's how. So definitely take advantage of the fact that you can do it now online, and you don't have to fly all the way to Spain and do it. Junior says, I think losing Iñaki is a bigger blow than Ter Stegen. He's gotten better last season and can only learn from his mistakes by playing. We should keep him and send him on loan to be a starter. Yeah, unfortunately, Flick has said no Iñaki. So I would have honestly preferred to have Joan Garcia and Iñaki as our two goalkeepers versus renewing Szczesny. Right? And I say that because Iñaki is much younger. He's an academy player. I think he did well. I get, Szczesny's more experienced and everything, but it's like, all right, Szczesny next season, he's going to be gone. Or maybe he does, well, technically he signed until 2027. 2027, he leaves. So then who's going to be your second? Is it going to be Kochen? Is Kochen going to be ready? I don't know. I think we could have kept Iñaki as our number 2. But then the question is, of course, will Iñaki, he would have wanted to be the number 2. So, yeah. Ethan says, first time joining the live. Happy to be here. It's currently 2:30 a.m. in Cape Town, but not too late to show love to only news channel that actually matters. Keep up the good work. Won't be scared. So, well, thank you, my friend. Thank you for your comment. Thank you for watching and staying up this late. I hope you were having a good time, and that's why you were able to stay this late. Lanray says, Laporta's bad, Xavi's terrible, De Jong is disrespectful, but Stegen is a saint. They are all cut from the same cloth. We should equal criticize. I never said that, but if you want to frame it that way to appear like you are right and I'm wrong, sure. Do you, boo-boo. Omar says, Tebas is degrading the quality of La Liga teams. Premier League teams have the power to buy any player, and by so doing it, think will affect La Liga teams, and La Liga quality will be reduced. I mean, La Liga quality has already been reduced thanks to Tebas. We've seen a huge migration of talent. We've seen big name players refusing to come here or reconsidering coming to La Liga because of the financial fair play. We've seen a lot of the smaller clubs sell players from their academies that had a lot of potential to other leagues. And, this day and age, everybody wants to go to the Premier because that's where the money is. And big part of it is because what Tebas is doing. It's already been degraded, so it's unfortunate. But, until we get him out, there's not much we could do. John says, hi, Mo. I'm from Liberia, living in Minnesota. I'm in Barcelona, Spain right now for a visit, and I love it there. Tomorrow we'll be going to Barcelona Museum to check it out. All right, awesome, man. Have fun. The new museum is much better than the old one. The old one was actually pretty boring. It's like literally you walk in and it was just shelves with trophies, and that's it. Trophies, and it was over. Now the new museum is completely interactive. There's like trophies and pictures and touch screens, and then there's this big room that simulates being at the Camp Nou. It's like 360 screen, and I think it's like they call it, is it 4D or 5D sound or 3D sound, where you hear the sound all around you. You're like, oh shit, someone's behind me. It's really cool. It's a very, very cool museum. They've done a great job remodeling the museum. I did a video, by the way, a vlog about it when I went. So definitely check it out. Let's see. Shin says, oh wait, Shin is talking to someone else. Says, Richard, be our guest and happily unsubscribe and don't let the door hit you on the way out. I guess Richard somewhere said that he was unsubscribing, which is good luck to you, my friend. Winter says, Mo, I saw on another channel where a financier came out and paid for the Japan trip and a team is going. Can you confirm? Yes. I talked about this in yesterday's video. It's Rakuten, who used to be a Barcelona sponsor. I don't know if you remember. What's the last year we wore Rakuten? The one that always comes to mind is that ugly home kit that we had, the one with the checkered, with the squares, that was like, that looked like the Croatia kit. I remember that always comes to mind. But Rakuten, it's an electronics company, one of the wealthiest conglomerates in Japan. They're also the main sponsor of Vissel Kobe. So they had already started selling tickets for the game. So they came out and said, all right, if your promoter didn't pay, we'll cover the cost. Don't worry. Here's the $5 million. Just come to Japan, please. We already sold tickets, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. All right. What else? Let me see. Oh, okay. I see what Shin was responding to. Richard says, Mo is on Matt's payroll. Yep. Check hit yesterday, believe it or not. A good one, too. According to you, if we say otherwise to what you say, we lack critical thinking skills. Not feeling this channel anymore. Might just happily unsubscribe. Go for it, my friend. It's like I always tell people who always make that comment, like, I'm going to subscribe if you stop talking this. I'm like, go for it. Like, what do you want me to do? You want me to, like, to beg you to stay? I'm not going to beg you to stay. You want me to change what I think and what I say because you are threatening to unsubscribe? Sorry, that's not going to happen either. Like, I don't know why people think that they have that power over others. Like, oh, if you don't do this, I'm going to do this. Then fucking do it, bro. Like, look, I'm just here to give you my opinion. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, that's also fine. Like, there's plenty of channels out there who I don't like watching. You know what I do? I don't watch them. You don't see me go watching them and be like, stop saying this. Stop doing this. It's like, no. Watch what you like. Don't watch what you don't like. If you don't like this channel, don't watch it. That's fine. And I'm not going to take it personal. There are millions of channels out there. Pick one that you like. Watch that one. Pretty simple. I don't know why people overcomplicate things. Like if you know a restaurant serves bad food, would you go and eat that bad food and then complain, why is this food so bad? No, you would stop going, right? Same thing here. If you don't like the channel, don't watch it. Watch one that you do like. Lefford says, Mo, don't remind us of that kit, the checkered one. PTSD, man. Yeah, that was a pretty terrible kit. That was an ugly kit. Not a fan at all. By the way, I saw this. I can't remember if it was like a reel or a post, but it says, no, I think it was a reel. It says, what do you think when you see this kit? Like, what player? And they show you the checkered kit. And then it goes 3, 2, 1. And then you're supposed to give your answer. And I say Rakitic. And that's exactly what popped up. And then I was like reading the comment section. Everybody's like, bro, me too. And it's I don't know why, but I guess most people associate that kit with Rakitic, and maybe because he is Croatian and that checkered kit looked like the Croatia home kit. But I feel like whenever I think about that kit, the Barcelona player that pops in my mind is as well Rakitic. Let's see. Let's do a couple more and then we'll end this. GG says, Mo, I want you to understand that Laporta is on the war front without a bullet. On the war front with whom, my friend? Let's see. Let's see. What else? I'm trying to see if I missed any people that I didn't read their comments. Ozzy says, hey, Mo, I'm kind of late to the podcast, but I hope all is well. Well, thank you, my friend. It's better late than never. Let's see. My man Carlos says, Pedri was named captain last year with Rafinha. Was he? I don't think he was. I think the 4 captains last year was Ter Stegen, Frankie, Araujo, and Rafinha. I don't think Pedri was. I know I know Pedri was captain for a few matches, but that's because none of the four were available. But I don't think Pedri was named as part of the four. But anyways, let's do one last one. Street Fighter says, entonces, ¿alguna manera de que el Barça registre a alguien como Ter Stegen del equipo B? Juro que he visto pasar eso antes. No. You cannot register. Wait, let me understand your question. You cannot register a first-team player with Barca Athletic if that's what you're asking. It's not possible. Once you become a first-team player, you cannot go back down. Otherwise, can you imagine, like, it's the final match of the season for Barca Athletic, and they're about to be promoted, or they need to win to get promoted, or they need to win not to get relegated, and then you just send all your first team players, Lamine Yamal, Marcus Rashford, Lewandowski, Cuarsi, you put all these guys to play against some fourth division team and just fucking destroy them 30-0. So no, you can't do that. But anyways, that is all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your comments, your likes, your subscriptions, your generous donations. If you haven't hit the like button yet, make sure you do. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. If you haven't dropped a comment yet, make sure you do. I want to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions about everything I share with you. Tomorrow, the MoCast, weekly podcast for channel members. I will see you guys there. I will be posting another video later tonight. There's a few more news I need to cover. So I'll see you guys there. And of course, I will see the channel members at the MoCast. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, Visca Barça.